Hey there, Angie agrees with you once again, and it's another episode of Wellness Wednesday with Tyler Lowe. We spoke to Tyler before about how he started his business, why he started his business. This week, Tyler, we want to touch on gratitude, changing your vocabulary. I mean, we touched on it before, but we're going to really go into the nuts and bolts of this, and also mindset. Because the mind is a powerful thing.
Absolutely.
The mind is a muscle. And if you don't exercise that muscle, then you're going to find yourself going down a road, getting distracted with different turns, going into potholes. So it's important to have a strong mindset. So talk me through gratitude, changing vocabulary and mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gratitude is such a broad topic. I mean, we could talk about it for a very long time, but research shows that those who practice gratitude and the act of being more grateful live happier and healthier lives. And I think most of us, or many of us, don't take the time to actually think about the things that we're grateful for and think about, what it would be like if we didn't have those things.
Be
And
specific.
yeah. So, for example, I'll give a few examples. I'll give one example from my life. As I mentioned in the previous episode about sleeping on the sofa.
Yeah.
Now, I'm extremely grateful for my double bed. And
Hey,
when I think about it, you know, I think, wow, how lucky am I that I actually have a bed? And not only do I have a bed, I've got a bedroom, I've got a place where I can live and stay, invite friends over. And when you think about things like that, you think, wow, I'm actually extremely lucky. And quite often, many of us look for the negatives in situations as opposed to the positives. And when we focus on the positives, this helps us to reframe our thought process to be more optimistic. It doesn't get rid of the fact that a negative situation has happened, but it allows us to think about the positives. So again, I'll give you an example of how we can change our vocabulary. So one of my clients lives, sorry, not lives. One of my clients, they have an office in Stoke. So being from London, I currently live in London. Stoke's not close, right?
okay.
My initial thought process of going to Stoke was negative because of the journey. It was the journey time and the length of time. I thought, oh, I have to drive to Stoke. That was my initial thought process. Have to. That
Yeah.
vocabulary there. Quite negative, right? I have to do something.
Like it's
Well,
a
actually,
chore.
say that again for me.
Like it's a chore.
Like it's a chore. Exactly. But actually, I get to go to Stoke. I get the opportunity to go and do the thing that I love doing, which is helping companies support their employees. I get to do that. And not only do that, I'm fortunate enough to have a car and I get to drive there as opposed to having to rely on public transport, having to go into central London with the train strikes. I get to do this. And not only did I get to drive to Stoke, I actually got to listen to some podcasts while I was driving to Stoke. I don't often get the opportunity to listen to podcasts. My working day doesn't involve necessarily time to do that. And I thought, what podcasts can I listen to while I'm driving to Stoke? So now my initial thought process was, I have to drive to Stoke. And now I'm thinking, oh, actually, I have the opportunity to drive to Stoke. And not only do I get to listen to something that I like to listen to. So now I've gone from dreading the drive to actually I'm excited about the drive because I thought, oh, I'm going to listen to this podcast. This is one that's sounds interesting to me. I'm going to listen to that. I wonder what I can learn from that podcast. So simply by changing mindset and changing the vocabulary, I was looking at a situation that was negative or appeared negative and
Yeah.
switched it to a positive. And
Yeah.
we can all implement that in our lives. Instead of using the term, I have to, what do you get to do out of that situation?
Is it not also about upbringing, Tyler?
Up.
upbringing,
Yeah,
environment that you grew up in,
absolutely.
because that can have a lot to do with it as well, can't it?
Absolutely.
I am a woman of a certain age, and I'm also the youngest of five. And so, what my elder siblings had to do, I don't feel that I have to do. I mean, look, I'm the youngest, and I work in media, so I don't have a proper job. What I mean, and I consider myself quite blessed in that I do work with a lot of young people, and I've been doing this job for a while, and I've managed to break the cycle of this drudgery of work life, and because I really, really do enjoy my work, but I
Yeah.
consider myself very blessed to have broken that cycle. How do you encourage people who have had an upbringing which sometimes we can be quite guilty about breaking because we don't want to
Mhm.
upset the parents, we don't want to upset the rules that were laid for us. How do you encourage people that in breaking those cycles, becoming more grateful for what they have is a positive thing to do?
That's a very good question. And it's very hard to challenge our upbringing, right? Because, it's been ingrained in us for a long period of time. And hopefully conversations like this can help to plant the seed for people to start thinking about how they can change their mindset and have a more positive outlook. But things that people can do to help change their mindset is try and latch on, or not necessarily latch on, try and surround yourself with optimistic and positive people. Try and implement these phrases into your working day. So try and switch from things like I have to I get to. Another one that I haven't mentioned is I don't want to and I want to. So a quick example,
Yeah.
I don't like washing dishes. After I make some food, have to wash up. I don't want to wash up. But what I do want is a clean kitchen.
Okay.
Uh, so why don't I focus on the thing that I want rather than the thing that I don't want? I'm focusing on having a clean kitchen, not washing the dishes. Reframing your mind like that allows you to think about the positive outcome, the positive thing that is going to happen from the action that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So changing your vocabulary, you using conversations like this to try and change your own vocabulary to help you have that more optimistic outlook. And now, this is not easy. I say this is not easy because I still, to this day, still say things like I have to or I don't want to. It's about pulling yourself up and reminding yourself, oh, actually, no, let me rephrase that because why be miserable when you can be happy, right?
Yeah, I totally, totally agree with you. And I totally agree that the outcome is what we should be focusing on as opposed to the parts of the journey that we don't like. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I totally get that one about washing dishes. I hate a dirty kitchen. When I wake up in the morning, I don't want to see dishes in the sink. There's a dishwasher there, put them in the dishwasher. So I totally get now, because I do enjoy cooking. So if I enjoy cooking, then the process of having to wash up will allow me to be happier when I'm cooking because the kitchen will be clean.
Yes, absolutely.
But I grew up in a home where wash the dishes.
Yes.
Do you see what? And it's really interesting that you use that example. And,
Yeah.
and I take that hand in hand as well with the cultural and maybe the parental side of things that we
Yeah.
find really, really difficult to break. Um, Changing vocabulary, I'm sure it is something that it doesn't happen overnight.
Absolutely.
We
It's
do,
a continuous
yeah,
continuous effort. And actually being grateful is a continuous effort because it's sometimes hard to be grateful when maybe you're annoyed about something,
yeah,
some negative situation has happened to you and you feel like you're you know whatever, however you feel, it's not always easy to be grateful.
Yeah.
But there are things that we can do to try and be more grateful. One is a gratitude journal.
Do you
And I want
do
to give,
one?
I use a gratitude journal. I don't use it every day, but I do write in it
Okay.
when I feel, yeah, when I feel like actually I need a moment.
Yeah.
But if you can create the habit of writing in a gratitude journal, which we'll come on to in another episode, but that can really help. And I want to give you an example of uh, someone who used writing in gratitude to improve how they felt about their partner and also improve how their partner felt about them. Now, this example was from a book called The Compound Effect. And this husband, he wrote in a gratitude diary every single day for a year about what he was grateful for with his wife. So
Yeah.
he wrote every single day what I'm grateful for about my wife. And what this did two things. It allowed him to think about all the greatness and all the positive things that she does. So when she did something that maybe annoyed him, he was so ingrained in saying something positive about her every day that he started to see, positive, the positive side of her.
Yeah.
This then rubbed off on her,
Yeah.
um, and their relationship blossomed. Now, at the end of this year, he gave her the book with
Oh,
all the positive things that he said about her. And as you can imagine, she read this book and was, heartfelt and, however she felt, she was amazed. And this blossomed their relationship and their marriage.
so
Simply the act of gratitude created that.
here is a beautiful example because I always say marriage is teamwork. Here's a beautiful example of solidifying the team just by written notes of gratitude. Isn't that lovely? So
Very
that
lovely.
would have obviously increased their emotional wellness towards each other.
Yeah.
And because of that environment that they created in writing this, gratitude journal down, my goodness, I'm going to assume that any time an argument was brewing, it kind of resurfaced it, pushed it down, pushed it down. So important, so important. Do you encourage gratitude diaries with the work that you do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I encourage people to be grateful towards others. So, for example, when you show gratitude towards someone else, it makes them feel good. And when they feel good, it makes you feel good. They say giving can be seen as a selfish act because you get so much from giving. Giving brings you as an individual so much. So when you give a compliment to someone else, you give a gift to someone else, and their reaction is positive, it's an amazing cycle because then that makes you feel good.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I love this, Tyler. I love this. Tyler Lowe is talking wellness. Tyler, do you want to give us your website? See if anybody does want to get hold of you.
Yeah, it's lovinglifeco.com, and my company name is called Loving Life.
Wonderful. Tyler, thank you for another episode. And I will see you next week.